Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Talks One podcast. Today, we are joining again to share the layoffs that have happened thus far, making this quarter Q1 of 2025 as the one of the worst quarters in the whole decade. In fact, the numbers are so brutal this time that it basically almost feels like we have breached even 2008 2009 levels, and maybe if this is how it is going to continue this year too, we might actually surpass the layoffs that we saw back in 2001 2002 time frame as well. So without further ado, let me iterate all the companies that have announced the layoffs, and then we'll get into the discussion. So HPE or Helvet Packard Enterprise is 2.5k or 2500 people. Then uh, the DOGE department is scrutinizing consulting contracts with Fed. So it is expected that many of the consulting companies such as Deloitte, Accenture, KPMG, IBM, Infosys, TCS, all of these companies who have contracts with Fed, Boston Consulting Group, KPMG, etc., will get impacted when their contracts get cancelled. So please brace for it. If you are working in some of these companies, next few months would be really, really troublesome. Indonesia factories have shut down due to growing concerns. So there are like it is widespread across the world that is happening. Of course, led by the US. Then NASA has done cuts in the departments. Fed up till now has already cut 250,000 jobs. Can you believe it? 250,000 jobs Fed has already cut. And then we are talking about more cuts across NASA and very many contracts that Fed has. Even those are going to get cut. Meanwhile, in India, BSNL has announced 35% VRS. So again, there is a layoff, but the layoff is with golden handcuffs because in VRS, I think they give 8 or 10 months of salary plus uh, they get the entire, I think, pension also together clubbed into the thing. So I don't know exact numbers, but generally it's a pretty big amount. I think 8 months salary plus some amount of pension. They do some calculations, so which is huge. It's a government company in India, as you can say, and 35% is a pretty huge number. Then, on the other hand, many universities and research companies, institutes who have given PhD, postdoctoral fellowship offers to people, they're rescinding them because their you know grants have been cut by the US Fed. I mean to say, the federal government. So many people who were wanting to start their job offers in research institutions and universities as a postdoc or PhD candidate or a research candidate, even those are getting cut. So if any one of you have applied for those things, be very careful as to what is going on, or reach out to your university to see if those things are remaining or not. Then Forever 21 is a like a youth fashion brand that is going bankrupt in the US. And Brace for this one. Amazon has announced 14,000 people layoff, and these are people managers. So understand this thing. Amazon is laying off 14,000 managers. Now, many people may think that okay, managers are not required. What do managers do? So we can always get into those debates, but understand the circumstances. If 14,000 managers are going, assume even if 10% of the teams that these managers were managing are also going to get pushed out. Let's say each manager used to have a team of, let's say, 7 people. I'm just using it as a number. And if 1400 managers, which is 10%, 7 into 1400, now you can imagine another 10,000 people will get impacted. So just 14,000 managers, I'm assuming many of these managers would have been handling multiple teams, because these managers are all going to be at all levels, like L6 level, L7 level, L8 level, maybe L10 level also. So when they fire these managers, even the teams underneath them will get dismantled and restructured. So don't think this is only going to remain with managers. A lot of ICs are also going to get laid off. It's just that we just don't know the numbers yet. So we would be hearing that in the coming months. And if you would have been following some of my podcasts, I already mentioned that you will hear out Amazon, Google, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, all these companies are going to lay off. But again, I'm surprised that Amazon has done it again, leading the race by killing off 14,000 managers, and we don't even know how many ICs. And my very conservative guess is at least 10 to 15,000 ICs will also get impacted. I don't think it will be anyway low. But technically, if I go with 14,000 managers, I would easily assume three times that number ICs will also get impacted. But we'll have to see. I'm using very conservative estimate that only 10% of the managers' teams will get impacted, which will amount to another 10 to 15,000 people. But it remains to be seen exactly how that basically lands. Then Morgan Stanley is laying off 2,000 people. Siemens is cutting off 8% of their people, which is going to be another 450 people. And Pentagon, right, the defense establishment of the US, they are laying off 60,000 civilians. Can you believe it? 60,000. So since Trump has taken over the US, I mean, everybody has been guessing as to what next is possible, what is that is going to happen. So many people are getting laid off all across the world, and it is all triggered by the US. In the At least in the history that I know of US, I have never seen that big amount of Fed people being laid off. So I already mentioned 250,000 Fed employees have already been laid off across the board. Now 50,000 Fed employees who are part of Pentagon, who are civilian employees, are also going to get laid off. I mean, this is like bonkers. I mean, this is just huge. Let me read couple of comments out there. A2K codes: since 2022, what are these laid off people doing? What about the ones on various kind of temporary work visas? So since 2022, when the real layoffs, basically big numbered layoffs started in Q4 of 2022, many people were able to get jobs, but over the years, getting a job has become increasingly difficult. It's so much in that when I was back in the US, I met so many people who had multiple Magnificent Seven, companies in their experience, such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Apple, and even then they were basically jobless. They were not able to get jobs. And as EIE is maturing over the last few years, especially now in 2025, lot more companies are making these decisions that we no longer need a lot of people. We will get work done with the existing staff that we have, or they are restructuring their existing teams and cutting across people. In fact, uh, Wipro as a company is also going to restructure. They have just brought in new leadership. I think they have brought in a new CEO right now, and their first job is to restructure multiple departments of Wipro, which means layoffs are incoming. That's a different word for layoff whenever they use the word right sizing, restructuring, or cost cutting. Any of these words mean just one thing, which is basically going to be layoff. So brace yourself. Like what I have just declared right now are the ones that have already happened. But then there is more pain to come as we move forward. So many people who were laid off in 2022 were able to get another job. But then again, another round of layoffs happened and they got caught into the crossfire. So across the board in the last 2.5, 3 years, I can tell you that there are a lot of people with extremely good experience who have had worked in Mountain View, Bay Area, New York, in the offices of Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and these kind of companies. In fact, multiple of these companies, and still unable to find a role. And I'm talking about people with 10 years, 15 years, 20 years experience. it is even brutal for freshers, like people who have, let's say, 1 or 2, 3, 4 years of experience, are also having very tough time, because a lot of companies are now stating that they only need senior level staff, they don't need entry level people, because most of the entry level job can be done by co-pilots and a lot of these LLM tools that we have. All they need is like thinkers and visionaries and people who can communicate and articulate their ideas well. So it's going to be a very, very, very challenging time, given how things have basically gone after. And as you already know, that in the US, the temporary visa means once your H1B is, you no longer work for a company who sponsored your H1B visa, you have roughly 2 months available to find another job. So technically, if these people were able to find another job in 2 months, which is highly unlikely in the given scenario, most likely these people would have returned back to their home countries. So it's a pretty dire situation right now. A lot of people who have gone for their MS and MBA are also struggling to get a job. They're not even able to get internships, let alone jobs, actually. So situation is very, very grim right now, especially in the US. But having come to India, I'm seeing that situation is also getting worse in India too. So next question is Akshat Rastogi. Hello, sir. Namaskar, Akshat Rastogi. आपको भी. Your question is, does Amazon layoff mean that life cycle of employees at Amazon is just few years, since no one is becoming a manager, and they also mentioned to curtail hiring for senior positions? So there was a survey done for technically all the big tech companies, and average tenure of people across Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft was roughly between like 9 months to like 1.25 years. That's the mean length of employment at any of these companies. Of course, Amazon being the worst, which was more around like less than a year, and I think Microsoft was the highest with 1.25 or 1.3 years or something. But pretty much all your Microsoft, Meta, Google, or Amazon, they were within this range of like 1.25 years. So that's the average that employees stay in these companies. So it's not even couple of years. It's like just 1 year and maybe a quarter or a change. That's about it. And um, so you are also asking, no one is becoming a manager, and they also mentioned to curtail hiring for senior positions. Could be true what you are suggesting, that they are very, very selective right now, because they are hoping that all the work can be outsourced to the AI, the co-pilots and things like that. Every big tech company has one of their own LLMs, whether we are talking about Gemini from Google, or Amazon is backing Anthropologic, and Microsoft earlier was working with OpenAI. So all these players are trying out their hands with their own LLMs and co-pilots, whatever they call them, to improve productivity that they have. And they've kind of put brakes. Everyone has put brakes on like hiring. Even Salesforce has its own systems. They have also put brakes on hiring. Lot more companies have put brakes on hiring. I think there are two kind of dynamic that is going on right now. So one is the advancement in the AI that we are seeing, and the hype that even today AI has not reached a stage whereby you can completely automate everything and you remove the people, but it is heading towards that way. And you can check out a couple of podcasts that I've made on that by 2030 I'm imagining there will be mass level job disruptions, because AI will become extremely strong, and pretty much all the lower level, all the entry level roles will be completely eliminated, and even the mid level roles will have like quite a significant impact, maybe 2030, maybe even 50%. But I still doubt the more complex, more senior level thing will still be done by AI. I mean, maybe it will be, maybe not. At least as of now, it doesn't look like it. But you can check out those podcasts that I've talked about, future of AI, and AI will eat your lunch and robotics will eat your dinner, or my podcast around agentic AI, or agents and rappers and things like that. So I'll encourage all the people who have joined this podcast to go check those podcasts as well. They're very, very informative. So The second, thing that is running in parallel is the instability that Trump is bringing along as he has become the president. So on one end, as it is, there was economic uncertainty. There is a lot of volatility in the economic markets, like stock markets in the US have been completely battered over the last few months, last few weeks, I would say. First, because when the deep sea was announced, and then when Trump announced all these different cuts, and all the negotiations that are happening between Ukraine and Russia. So, and Trump is also kind of making a lot of different kind of arguments. Sometimes it almost feels like he's doing it on purpose, because everything that comes from his mouth is beating the stock market. And the problem is that because the stock market is getting beaten down, it is creating a lot of unrest and uneasiness in the overall economy. So as it is, like there was a saying in Hindi, right? Kangali mein aata gila. Exactly that is the thing happening right now. So already the markets are shaky, people are concerned, jobs are going on, job losses are going on. On top of that, Trump has created a DOGE department that is cutting left, right, and center people. As I said, Fed has already laid off to 50,000 people. And then every time you hear the news, NASA is laying out more numbers, Pentagon is laying off more people, every department is laying off, in addition to the tech layoffs that are happening in the broader economy. And as the economy cools, as the inflation rises, which is what is happening in the US, I see more pain in the coming months. And because of that, we can expect more layoffs. And there are a lot of indirect layoffs that are going to happen. As I said, the DOGE department is evaluating a lot of these contracts that these Fed governments work with consulting companies like TCS, Infosys, KPMG, Boston Consulting Group. You name them, right? You know all those usual suspects. They do a lot of government work, and all of these are being evaluated. So even if they cut 25% of the contracts, it will have a cascading effect on both US consulting companies and Indian companies, because even if Indian companies are not directly getting the contract of Fed, many of these US companies such as Accenture and IBM's and KPMG, Deloitte, EY, PwC, Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey's, etc. They will outsource multiple projects to Indian companies such as TCS, Tech Mahindra, Wipro, etc. So you would see a cascading effect of all these layoffs, all these job cuts that are happening across the Fed departments. It will have very, very drastic impact on the overall consulting industry across the world. And India is going to get impacted very severely, because a lot of work that comes from the US is going to get cut. Let me read another question. A2K codes. I got rejected for a PhD position for this fall 2025. I was not given a clear rejection message. I think it is due to such policies. I will try again next year in other countries too. Yes, I'm very sorry to hear that, A2K codes, that your PhD was rejected. But yes, there is a high likelihood that their funding got cut, and they basically resigned the offers. I'm not sure if you already had the offer of PhD or not, but I know a lot of candidates who already had an offer, and their offer got rescinded, because as I told you, the government department is cutting funding for several of these research institutions and PhD positions and things like that. So there is a lot more pain that is going to come throughout this year. And I'm not sure, because Trump is going to be there for next 4 years. So anything is going to change next year or the year after in the US. Very hard to say. Next is Dev Dev. Any idea about how many Amazon employees in India are impacted by the layoffs? Sir, it is very hard to tell. They generally don't reveal those numbers. And again, India, they are not very transparent. At least in the US, they are mandated by law, as you have this Warn Act in the US, where all large employers who are doing business in the US, 2 months before they do actually do the layoff, have to put those numbers out in the public, that they're going to lay off in this state, and they have to do it state wise, that from this state how many people, from this state how many people. I think this 14,000 number is worldwide number. And India being the biggest center of Amazon outside of the US, I think bulk will be still out of US. And maybe India, maybe I'm just, this is just my plain guess, so don't quote me on that. Maybe 10% of those managers might be in India. So 1400 number, if you were to think. But for India, 1400 number will be very big either. As I said, this is just the managers. Think about the team these managers are managing. So if they no longer need the managers, do they still need their teams that they were managing? Maybe in some cases they do, maybe in some cases they don't. So in the cases they don't need those teams, and each manager would at least be managing 5 to 7 people, right? I mean, there is no point of a manager if you only have 2 3 people in a team, correct? So you can make an educated guess that if even even 10% of these teams get impacted, then we are talking about another 10 to 15,000 more people getting impacted as well. um, A2K codes. No, I did not have an offer, but was in the contact with the grad admission department for more than a year. The case you're talking about is from Iowa State University in the chemistry department. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know of a specific department, but there are many universities that are doing that actually now, because as I said, the grants have been cut, and it is not only in the universities, a lot of research institutions. So I know in Seattle also there is this. A2K Institute. I think they do brain research, and then there is another one. I forgot its name. So there are so many independent institutes that do research on, cancer. They do research on brain. Then there are institutes that focus on, environmental, seismic activities, etc. All those institutions are getting their funds being cut. Either they're completely getting cut the grants, or they. And I mean, there are a lot of startups that work with the Fed funding. Actually, a lot of startups get grants, even they're getting cut. So it is not going to be just research institutions and universities, but you will see a lot of startup activity will go down in the drains as well as the funding gets cut. And many startups have government as their, customers. So uh, I mean, there is this company, again, I'm missing the name actually. It's a AI company. I forgot the name actually. It's not coming to my mind, but once it comes, I'll actually share it with you guys. But this company also have major government contracts, and Pentaho, no, not Pentaho. It's another company. I'm just slipping it from my mind. It's a AI company, and they largely work with government contractors. And I am sure a lot of these companies will start feeling a lot of pain. Um, A2K code. He posted it on Reddit and it became viral. Okay, probably it would have. I probably missed that one, but a lot of universities are doing that actually, because as you know, Trump is making it very very public that they're cutting a lot of spending which they feel is wasteful, and it is resulting in all these different kind of layoffs. Dev Dave, thank you, Dev Dave as well. But what I wanted to share with all of you is, hold tight. If you already have secured jobs, try to like focus, double down on it. I know I always prophesize, eating healthy, maintaining a very good work life balance, spending time with your family, have a good sleep, exercise well, so that you can nourish your soul, brain, body, and fasten and sweeten your relationships. But right now we are in a circumstance, at least for the last 2 to 3 years now, wherein anything is possible. Like what seems like good opportunity, what seems like a great company to work for, tomorrow can become completely awful. So this from awesome to awful transition is happening right now. As you know, like all the big tech companies, like there is none, like whether it is Apple or Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, you name them, right? Including Nvidia, everyone is laying off, right? Add to it the uncertainty that we are seeing in geopolitics and all, is going to make it even harder as we kind of move into a Q2 this year, right? uh, and given by the kind of numbers that we are seeing right now in thousands, I mean, maybe this 2025 year will become the biggest layoff year, because I would have never imagined that uh, up until now they've already laid off 250,000 Fed employees in the US, right? Last year the total number of layoffs was around 300,000, If they in the Q1 itself, if the Fed alone is 250,000, much without counting the private sector where you have all the tech companies and all those things, maybe 2025 will end in, I don't know, 500K or 600K layoffs or even more. So that's a kind of possibility. So I'll urge all of you here to brace yourself for something that is happening. As you all probably know, the Indian economy has been on a downward spiral since last 5 to 6 months now. Even this March quarter is going to end, and by April we should get the numbers out as to what was the GDP growth. My suspicion is even in this quarter Q1 of 2025, our GDP growth should be below 6%, which is actually bad news for a country like a poor country like India, which is growing. Any number below 6% is actually very, very bad. If you are between 6 to 8%, it is considered as good. And if it is beyond 8%, it is considered as excellent. So right now we are in the bad territory. Last quarter we were in the bad territory, it was 5.4%. Is this time around also I'm suspecting it is going to be under 6%. So all in all, it's not a good sign for Indian economy. You have already seen the stock markets in India are completely red. Stock markets in US are also now completely red, and both are independent. Like one is not dependent upon the other. But because US stock markets are now red, there is a possibility that some of that money may come into as FIII in Indian markets. So it's a silver lining. I don't know for sure, but there is a possibility if the US markets don't give very good returns and there is a lot of instability there, some portion of that money can again come back to Indian markets. So it remains to be seen whether that happens or not, but it will be important to analyze whether this happens or not, right? Uh, Again, I am still bullish on the Indian stock market in the long run. I'm not going to talk about in the next few quarters or few months, but in the long run, if you remain invested in the market, I think India should still grow because it is a growing economy. But if you are too much concerned about the next few days, next few weeks, next few months, then there will be a lot of volatility and you may actually have to sell at a loss actually, because the total market is at red right now in India as well. So let me read a couple of more comments. Dave, Dave, do you think the average work lifespan of an employee has reduced significantly? Earlier, our parents would spend working till 58 years, but my understanding is this has significantly reduced. I mean, there is a paradox here, right? So, our health expectancy has increased. So, nowadays, even in India, life expectancy has surpassed 70 years, right? In our parents' time, life expectancy was more around 60 years. Now it is around 70 years. So now you end up living longer, but because of uncertainty of the job, you may not have a job until your age of 58 or 60 or something. Forget about 58 is too long actually. People are not even having jobs in 30s itself. So you just work in your 20s because you're young and you're struggling and you're passionate and whatnot. And with all the layoffs and all, by the time you hit 30s, you start hitting layoffs after layoffs, layoffs after layoffs, layoffs after layoffs. And by the time in IT sector, if you hit 40, if you're already not in the director VP segment, there are very limited positions at IC level where you can like be as a like a distinguished engineer or a fellow architect or things along those lines. There are very few companies that will basically hire such kind of individual contributor at that level, and they can pay that kind of salaries. So in that sense, you are right. The jobs now are very, very fragile. The whole industry is completely fragmented. It's very hard to have a single job for next like 25, 30 years or 40 years. Now with the current scenario, like as I said, in the big tech itself, average length of a job is just 1.25 years. So even let's say you have been doing well, now I don't see people working in a company for more than 2 to 5 years. I mean, that's the ideal, I think, tenure of an employee. And even if you wanted to work, either the company will shut down, your business unit will get restructured, or you will get laid off. or you yourself will basically quit. So it's very difficult to now imagine that people are going to work till 58 even if they wanted, because of the uncertainty in the market and overall how things basically work out. Anand, good to see you again. Thank you, Anand. Really appreciate your gesture. A2K codes. How are both the markets independent? I mean, independent in the sense that, the Indian market is, independent in the sense that how the market performs is not correlated to how US market performs. So the Indian stock market is independent in that sense, but it is not independent. It is dependent in the sense that a lot of money that is poured in the Indian market is from FIIs, financial. These are the institutional investors, and most of them are from the US. So in that sense, it is very dependent upon the investment made by FIIs from the US. So in that sense, it is dependent. But then, how US market is going to perform and how Indian market is going to perform, these two are completely independent, because the US market operates differently from the Indian market. Sometimes when the US market falls and all, you'll see the Indian market will also fall, but those impacts are very limited. But because FIA started pulling money out of Indian market, even then the US markets were still sustaining well. Indian markets were dropping nonetheless, right? And they have been dropping for the last 5 6 months actually in the row, which is not correlated with the US markets. US markets have only started dropping now, like in the past few weeks, since the DeepSeek was announced on 20th of January. So in that sense, those markets are so basically, I think the right word for me to say would be Indian markets are dependent upon US FIIs, not US markets. But US markets are not directly correlated with the Indian markets. Even though whenever there is a drop in the US market, some impact is there across the world. So it's not only with India, but across the world. But they will not go directly in correlation with how US markets operates. I think it's a little bit complicated answer. I hope I have answered. If not, do write to me again and I'll try to explain again. Your next question, I think, is you're responding to Dave, but it is difficult to explain that to my Indian parents. Uh, yeah, you're right. Uh, Parents might think that you should stick in one company for a long period of time. Nowadays, that's not possible. Even if you want to stick, companies will lay you off or fire you. uh, Akash Verma, keep holding on the cash. World is entering into Great Depression. Yes, I mean, people have been saying this. In fact, I myself am guilty as charged that I have been talking about recession for quite a bit of time. At least in the last 2 years, I've used the word recession multiple times. But even now, technically, we have not arrived at a recession yet. uh, Depression will be even more than worse than recession. A lot of news has come because of Trump's measures and the way he's acting, and basically perturbing everything from geopolitics to stock markets to economies. He's created a lot of unrest there, but I doubt it will still result into a Great Depression or depressions per se. But there is a likelihood, the chances of, I think, recession. Last I checked, they said the US markets have now 40% chances of a depression right now. So that's something we'll have to see whether that happens or not. And I think it's always a good strategy to diversify. So have some money in like equity, some money in the debt, some money in your CDs or FDs, whatever you prefer. I think it's a good area, and some money in gold, some money in like real estate. Diversify so that when you need it, you have the money, and you don't have to like completely let go of everything. So my kid has woken up, so I have to pick him up. But yeah, so was all from my side for today. He has been actually been stuck by viral infection, so he's been coughing. But I think the thing is that all of us need to be prepared for what is going to come. Technically, I am thinking that uh, upcoming months would also be like challenging. We can hear lot more layoffs, including in India, because now a lot of Indian companies are feeling the heat, given that yeah, thank you, Akash. Nowadays, like viral season is going on in NCR region, so pretty much all of my boys are basically under the weather. But hopefully they'll be doing fine shortly. But technically, what I'm saying is that we can hear a lot more about layoffs and job cuts. I also expect a lot of startups in India are going to fold this year. Um, many of the companies many of the companies are going to like post a lot of losses. I already talked about in the past that a lot of FMCG companies like Unilever, PNG, Asian Paints, etc., are struggling, saying that their sales have dropped manyfold. So I think even the car sales, even the home sales in India in the last quarter were 10% down actually. So all these signals are going to suggest that it is going to be a tough year this time around as well. So I hope you enjoy your time, you spend time with your family. We'll again connect with another podcast shortly. Till then, take care. Let me read one more comment. Anandar is in Pune. It is 37-degree temperature. Oh my God, that's like too high. Even in NCR right now, we have not hit, I think, 37. In fact, it has been very pleasant these days. But it's very unfortunate because I used to live in Pune back in 2006. It was a very nice city. I used to like the weather, and I was on Senapati Bapat Road near the Pune University. That's the place I remember I used to stay. And it was a nice place to go jogging on the road every morning. But yeah, brace for itself, like the environmental destruction in India is at a completely different level. So I can imagine that a lot of places which used to be cool and nice are now very very warm and hot and polluted. So please take care, spend time with your families, focus on your health, and do not focus too much on the work. I mean, do what you can, but if not, then just leave it, because whatever is going to happen is going to happen. There's nothing much we can do. All we can do is prepare for the best, prepare for the worst, and focus on the best part that is there. For now, I'm going to sign off. Take care, have a nice day. Do like, share, and subscribe. Till then, we'll meet to in the next podcast. Till then, take care, have a nice day.